Hi everybody, happy Tuesday. This is Julie over here at Book of Hours, and I hope everyone is having a good day so far. The first thing I wanted to do was thank you for sharing our videos, subscribing to our channel, and supporting our work. Because of you, we've reached our goal. We are now at 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube page, so thank you for that. We are hoping to get to about 1,500, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, if you continue to share our work and watch our videos and you appreciate the things that we do. We would really appreciate, just getting the word out. We are currently working on another project for our new model series called Resilient Cities. It's kind of taken us into some different directions. I think what we're going to do for the next video essay that we do on our Book of Hours YouTube page is we are going to make Resilient Cities a cartoon, some kind of animated production, and I'll do the voiceover for that. So I think so. We're gonna change it up a bit for the next one. And we've also recorded our weekly bookmark series, which we started last week. So we have just wrapped up our second bookmark, which we will be releasing to the public later today. So you can watch us chat. And what bookmark is, and for those of you who are joining me right now, thank you, hello, hi Sandra, nice to see you, of course. So what we're going to be doing with bookmark is once a week we will be wrapping up the week's events, and there's, as you know, things change every day. It feels like there's always something brand new that's coming, across our news feeds, and new so-called legislation that is, been mandated or passed, and we always want to address those things and illuminate our followers and illuminate the world as to what these things really mean, and maybe we can help interpret them for you. So bookmark is just kind of a way to check in. It's a conversation that JP and I have with everybody out there. Our video essays are separate. They're much more artistically done. Jonathan, thank you for joining. Hello. Sometimes these live streams are, I'm not used to being live. Usually I'm behind the scenes, working away at making our video essays. So bear with me as I go through some of the things I wanted to talk about. First and foremost was to thank everybody. We made our goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we made our goal, so thank you for that. We're of course always looking for more support on our Patreon page. We have a PayPal page that people can donate to, and I'll put the links up here when I'm done. And I also wanted to remind people about Bookmark. Bookmark is a really good place for us to sort of rehash and recap the week's events. So if you guys have anything you want us to talk about, put a message here on Book of Hours, or say, hey, look, for your next bookmark, can you talk about this? These things are happening in my area of the country. I know some people live in Ohio, some people live in Michigan, so maybe there's things happening over there that are not necessarily happening like here in PA where I live. So, we want to make sure we get a broad spectrum. We want to make sure that we cover everything, because the more information we have, then the better we can be to respond to it as a team, and as a unified group of people who are pretty woke to the bullshit that we're getting shoveled every day, like that we have to get through every day. So one of the things that I did want to talk about that came through just a few days ago, it came through, and it was really really disarming and really kind of scary for us to see, was that I guess when kids go back to school in the fall, they will be forced to wear a mask and socially isolate, and a number of other things that they must do while in school, in school. And, so there's a couple of different reactions to that. I'm happy to see that a Facebook group immediately has started. A group of mommies got together and they said, there's no way I want this happening in my district. I think it's called Keep Pennsylvania Schools Normal or something like that. And what they've done is they've banded together, they've figured out who's in each district, and they're going to write letters and make demands of their local school board, because it does come down to the school board. A lot of people want to go, they want to go directly after the highest person on the totem pole, which would be the Department of Health person, who in Pennsylvania it's a doctor by the name of Rachel Levine. They immediately want to go after Dr. Levine because Dr. Levine is putting these really, really draconian and really dangerous precedents out there, or these dangerous legislation out there for kids here in Pennsylvania schools. So immediately what happened was a mommy group was started, and they're going to their local school boards, because that's what that's where you have to start first. You've got to start locally, and you've got to puncture and break apart the local legislation. And if the local legislation then fights back against the Dr. Levine's orders, who's the Department of Health here in PA, then you have a shot. But if you just immediately try to go through the school board and up to the very top, you're going to get knocked down really quickly. So it's community by community, school district by school district, and you have to make your demands. You have to make your demands very clear. You have to say, if you continue with this legislation, I'm going to pull my kid from school. I'm going to stop paying my taxes to the school district. I'm going to vote out people that are on the school board. I'm going to disrupt every school board meeting that you have. I will make waves. I will put it on social media. I will shame you. I mean, these are the tactics that, these parents have to take if they want to protect their children. And so that's something that I've already seen in response to this piece of legislation. I know that JP was really upset about it, and he put like a message on Facebook. It got like 100 responses on it, and just all sorts of conversations stemmed from that. So that's actually really a really good way to inform people. Language is really important. I think that a lot of really popular podcasters out there are starting to call their governors terrorists. I know there's a podcaster in Florida who's he's starting to use that kind of, escalated language. There's a podcaster in Orange County, California.
I tweeted it.
Is doing that, and JP has tweeted this language to our heads of state as well. So we need to start diagnosing and using language that really grabs their attention and says, oh yeah, this isn't good. So it starts there and then it continues. I think that one of the things that we will be addressing in our Resilient Cities video essay, which is the one we're working on right now, we're working on the script on that one right now, it's gonna be very sarcastic and a little bit funny. So we'll be using language that will be sort of in reverse, and hopefully people will be able to follow it. Sometimes our sarcasm goes above people's heads sometimes, but I think that for our followers and our supporters, we've got a very intelligent, engaged group of people here, so I think that you all will get it. But we wanted to throw a little bit of humor into our work, because sometimes it can get really, really dark, and we want to make sure that there's a balance. One thing too that on a lighter note, one thing I wanted to also say was that what I'm witnessing on sort of a existential level is I'm witnessing the foundations being laid for a new society. Now that this might sound kind of weird and new agey to you, but just bear with me. I think that, people like Josette, who's tuned in, and Jonathan, and Sandra, of course, and just about everybody who we're connected to through Book of Hours and through our podcasting and through our video essays, everybody is laying the foundation for a new society. So right now your goal is to try to wake people up. you keep saying, wake up, wake up, wake up. And believe me, I've been saying that for years. And you all have been saying it for years. You know, maybe you go all the way back to like 9/11 days. Okay, so you say, wake up, wake up. And you really want your friends and families and neighbors and your connections through social media to get it, to finally wake up and finally get it, that things aren't always what CNN tells you. Things aren't always what NPR tells you, right? So you say, wake up, and you don't seem to be getting anywhere. Well, the thing is you are getting somewhere. And I think we're coming to the culmination of that right now. As much as we want a society to be unified and for all of us to be against them at the top, so all of us against them, I think that is a utopian society that may not exist. I think what's going to happen is we'll have a society of people that have laid the foundation, laid the groundwork, and then from there they'll go to the next step and they'll open up the schools and they will exist in these communities and in a civilization. And this may happen in 5 years, it may happen in 100 years, who knows? And this civilization will have a new way of teaching children and a new way of feeding itself and a new way of existing. And the other civilization will be the ones that, you know, get the vaccine and wear the mask, and they funnel their children into the approved school district, which is really just a human capital market. So these SIBs, which are social impact investments, are the ones that are actually controlling the government school boards and controlling the government bodies that control school and the way that it operates. So these children are funneled into this system and they become enslaved to it, and they don't really have any potential. They don't really have any future. Once they graduate from school, they don't really have to learn anything. So what they do is they then go to a nonprofit that says, oh, well, you know, you're a marginalized person that doesn't have a lot of options. Let us help you get a job. And that job will pay so little, and it won't have any, there will be no room for growth in that job. There will be no room for potential. And a lot of you who are laying the foundation, like Allison and Corey and myself and Josette and Michael and too many of you to name, you're illuminating the masses and say, okay, you have a choice. You can wander easily into an enslaved life where you don't even realize that you're actually a slave, or you can it's going to be uncomfortable. You can take a chance and you can move into a different kind of society where you don't engage. Now it exists, it's pervasive, it will always exist, but you can have your own self-sufficient life within the paradigm of the bigger picture, which is inevitable, which is, you know, going to happen. So we'll do things like, you know, eat out of our community gardens. Maybe a general store will be open and goods and services will be provided through the general store. Something like gratitude currency will be established. And this will exist outside of this, you know, ever pervasive surveillance tech grid, which wants to put us all on an enslaved surveillance capitalist system, which I think you all know where I'm going with this. I'm trying to just keep it kind of loose here and not get into the minutia of some of the terms that I've come to know over the years. But I think that right now it's the foundation. It's the laying of the foundation. It's the educating the masses and then giving the masses a choice. Because one thing that will help us all kind of handle these changes and this oppression and this communitarianism, which, if you watch the last video, is based in neoliberalism and corporate fascism, you know, and it's the philosophy which is driving this whole thing forward. If you know this, you can say to the people, here's a choice. And if people make their choice, then they've made their choice and you have to let it go. I have had conversations with people who have kept their businesses open despite so-called mandates, which aren't mandates. There are not laws. And they said, and they know this, and they run a business and they want it to keep generating a profit so that they can pay their bills, so they just leave it open. And then maybe they get a citation and they're like, well, the citation isn't predicated on any law, so it's an empty piece of paper, right? So, okay, so then you have that. Then I've known other people that have said, no, I have to shut it down. I'm scared. I just want to follow the rules. That's their choice as well. There are plenty of parents out there that say, if this is the way the school system is going to run, where it's run on investment capital and my children are going to be used as human stock, you know where that term originally came from, right? It goes back to when slaves were treated as stock. They were treated as capital, and they weren't treated like human beings. So that's what our school systems want to treat our children like, as stock for investments and a return on those investments. So you have some parents that are aware of this and say, yeah, I don't want my child to be a part of that. I'll go ahead and homeschool, or I'll put him in a different kind of system where that doesn't exist. I definitely don't want him wearing a mask or social isolating. Children need to play. That's most of what the children, when they learn, when their brains engage and they learn, is through play. That's why we have recess in between classes, or we used to, right? So some parents are really engaged and they're like, okay, I'm not going to do this. Now I've also had conversations with other parents that literally say, it's just a mask. It's just a mask, and so what? He has to eat by himself at lunchtime. And so what? I don't know about this human capital stock investment thing, whatever. He needs to go to school because I don't have the energy or the time to homeschool him or take care of him. Forget that, just let him go to school. School is there for a reason. That's why it exists. I'm being a responsible parent by putting my kid in school. Had those conversations as well with people around here. And my response to them is, as long as you understand you have a choice. You have a choice to do whatever you want with your own life, with your child's life, with how you operate in the world. And you have to take a step back, because for a while there I was getting to the point where I wasn't sleeping at night because the entire weight of the world was on my shoulders, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're headed into some really nightmare scenarios that are coming to life. They're not just in your dreams, they're actually real. This is really, really bad stuff. And it was falling on deaf ears, and I was getting more and more frustrated, and my own feelings about things were starting to be affected. So in order to preserve my energy for my work and my life and my husband and my house, I had to take a step back and make sure that I did my part. I've laid the foundation. I've informed you. I've given you a choice. Do with it what you will, And many people have chosen the mask and chosen to be subservient to the terrorists because they feel safe doing so, and they want to assimilate into a society that will applaud them, and give them a little biscuit and tell them that they're doing good. You and I are not like that. Now the whole mask thing is kind of weird too. It's a choice. I mean, there are times in my life, because I have such a high sensitivity to chemicals and things like that, that I've had to put on a mask before COVID was even a thing, right? I just would put on a mask or put my bandana up a little bit over my mouth, because the stench of going into some of these stores where the off-gassing is so intense, because there's a lot of plastic in the stores or whatever, the cleaning supplies that they use. So I would have to wear a mask, to just keep myself from inhaling the toxins. So there's that. So I think it's a choice. And I think what it comes down to is that people know their own bodies. People know their own bodies. People know what they can handle. So that's why in China, it's not really a mandate. It's not really a law. They do it by choice. And a lot of people do it, and a lot of people don't. But all the propaganda that you see coming across your screens and your feeds, and maybe even the television, is you know, huge populations in China have a mask on. Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, it's a big country, right? It's a big, huge population expansion, and not everybody is wearing a mask. So I know you know this. I know that you know that propaganda is, you know, is pretty intense, and that not everybody wears a mask. That a lot of people don't. So that's, you know, that's something that I wanted to really stress with those people who are, you know, researching, providing the information, going behind the scenes. You've all been to the World Economic Forum site. You all know what's going on with 4IR. You all know that, you know, what a virus is. You all know that the medical data and the scientific analysis of this, you all get it. You're laying the foundation. You're laying the foundation. Okay, so what's going to happen next in society and in civilization is there will be division. And we hate that, because we all want unity. We want real, organic, authentic unity, not communitarian unity, which is, you know, it's unity for the wealthy and everyone else suffers. You want actual unity. You want to see those people who are wearing the mask. You want to see them rip it off and go, I get it now. You want them to do that, but that may never happen. And it will be a divided society, and it will be those that are, you know, living, you know, with a chip in their system, and they'll be on a blockchain grid. They will be all vaccinated up every couple of years, and they'll assimilate into that world, and they'll assimilate. And as they assimilate, you will get further and further and further away from that, until we literally have two societies, you know, and our society will be the one where we'll build a little schoolhouse in our community, and our kids will go there. It will really be like going back to basics, like when our country was first founded. We'll eat out of the earth. We'll teach our children things like math and science and logic, and we'll teach them how to engage their brain, as opposed to teaching them what to think. We'll teach them how to think. And every person will have their own special set of skills that they'll bring to the table. It will be horizontal. There won't be any particular person in charge. I'm not in charge. You're not in charge. It won't be like that. It'll be like, what is your skill set? And that's where that's what you'll be in charge of. You'll be in charge of your skill set. JP's good at certain things. I'm better at others. You're better at other things. Someone else is better. And each person will bring their individual, you know, experiences and knowledge about the way the world works to this civilization and to society. Sandra says, unfortunately, America is dividing, and it's going to get worse. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying, is that as much hope as we have, and as much information that we are presenting to the world with the goal of bringing unity, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. We're looking at some very strong tactics to keep us divided, and they'll work. Those divisive tactics will absolutely work. I'm seeing division even in my own little community here, but I'm also seeing authentic unity, people coming directly right up to us and going, can you please tell me what's really going on? Because I'm hearing certain things, and for some reason inside me, I just don't believe it. I just don't think that it's right. I don't think it's right to put a mask on my 4-year-old. I don't think it's right, the vaccine thing. I don't think it's right that, you know, I keep having to apply for assistance. Why can't I just, you know, have an opportunity and have a good job? And I see this happening to my child too, and I want to get off this pipeline. I want to get off this thing that they want to put me on. That's called the grid, you know, and other people make profit off of that grid, not you, you know. So these people realize it, and they're ready to fall off the grid and do something different. Does it mean that we'll completely escape the grid? No, of course not. I mean, we'll have to interact with the grid every once in a while to get what we need from it, you know. And in this society that I'm thinking of, which we are now laying the foundation for, I would say that, we would have appointees to go into the grid and get what we need from it, whether it's light bulbs or groceries, paper, whatever. Go into the grid, get what we need from it, and every month maybe you'll have a different person designated to go into it. So I think that is something that we have to, we have to sort of adjust our way of thinking. Because I see a lot of frustration, and of course you've seen a lot of frustration from me, of course. Same with JP. A lot of frustration, and I've seen the frustration from you guys as well, where you have this plethora of information, this vast knowledge, and you're sharing it, and not enough people are waking up. Some people are, but not enough are waking up. And at some point, you have to say, well, it's their choice. If they don't want to understand what's really going on, then that's their choice, and you have to let it go. And you have to let them wander off into the very thing that might actually hurt them, But there will be an interesting future, and, if you have an infant now, maybe by the time that infant is 10, that society that I'm talking about will be more cohesive. Maybe not as cohesive as it could be, but, or it could be much faster. Because sometimes in the face of incredibly dire circumstances where it feels like we're on our path to, I hate to say the word, the G word, we're on the path to genocide, because we know that these are some global goals. Sometimes these new societies rise up, get established, and get to work a lot faster because it's because they have to stay alive, and it becomes the existential crisis is the thing that gives you the momentum to do that and the strength to do that. So I think that's where we are, is we're laying the foundation, we're fertilizing the soil. The soil is being fertilized with all of the data and all of the information that you're collecting. And then we're going to start building on it, building places for people to go, to talk, and from there we'll stem educational facilities, and then from there we'll stem places for people to go and get food and books and nutrition. And all of this can exist within the paradigm that we have right now. We don't have to be human capital. We don't have to be the stock that makes the very, very wealthy even more wealthy. We don't have to be used like that. We don't have to be excoriated at all. It'll be hard because there will be people that you're related to and people you love that will. And there will probably come a time when you'll be like, when was the last time I saw you without a mask on? You might come to that someday. Or when was the last time I saw you and you weren't acting the way you're acting, And there will be changes in behavior too, because I think that this is part of the goal. What did you say earlier, JP? JP. Oh, he's got his earbuds in because he's editing the video essay. But what did he say? It was really interesting. He said that the goal is to splinter society. I think it was something like that, and I think we all know that these incredibly draconian pieces of legislation that are coming, especially from like the Department of Education here in Pennsylvania. It was shocking. It was really shocking, but then at the same time it wasn't, because I kept saying over and over and over again, at least in real life, I kept saying over and over again, the kids are next, the kids are next, the kids are next, and now the kids are next. They really are. I mean, putting a mask on a kid for all day long while he's at school, forcing him to sit, 6 feet apart from his friend so he can't socialize while he eats, and all the other, measures that they have. at the Pennsylvania Department of Education are really fucking scary. It's bad. It's not good at all. And luckily, out of that came a group that is fighting very hard to make sure that their school districts do not pass any more health orders. Their school boards are, hopefully going to vote against all these things, and there will be more disruption. So in this society that I'm thinking of is you completely turn your back on what, places like the Pennsylvania Department of Education say they want for your child. You completely turn your back on it. New schools, new opportunities, new ways of life, new ways of thinking, new progress, something different. And it might seem like we're going back, like we're going way back, way back, but it'll be kind of like a new founding of a new country. And it's always a challenge, and it's always scary, and people will die, but people are going to die anyway, Sandra says, mankind has never created anything that can't be hacked one way or another. Yeah, I mean, that seems like does seem the case. I mean, how much language in a lot of these really slick marketing materials that you provide for us and that we read, do they co-opt language that came right out of like anarchist community? I mean, we're seeing things like, direct action, which has always been delegated to, anarchist communities that kind of fall off the representational democracy, So obviously these agencies and these marketing campaigns and these global goals have co-opted the language of, of communities that have thrived on their own outside of oppression. They've co-opted it completely, and hacked into it and said, that's their success. And then they exploit it for their own purposes and rearrange it, like we see with SOMs, which are social organization movements, and nonprofit organizations as well, where they take the language of community, but actually what it is it doesn't help the people that really need it. It just helps the organizations. That's all. The money just goes right back into them, and the profit incentives go back into them. And they're using individuals, oppressed individuals, to keep lifting themselves up. So there is a good chance. That's why we have to be like in this new community that I'm thinking of, where we have, this gratitude flow, and we have these, these organized ideas. That's why I'm saying they have to be a little bit loose. Like, you don't want to be so closed off that it feels like it's something that someone needs to break into and hack, So it's different, and I think that's part of the reason why some of these communities in the past have failed, is because they were so militant and closed off in the way that they operated, that actually left them vulnerable to being hacked and to being overtaken. So I hope that makes sense. But that doesn't mean that we all have to get a vaccine or some shit like that. That's not what I'm talking about, in order to assimilate. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying there's strength in malleability. There's strength in, in kind of just being rubbery as opposed to being like a strict, concrete wall, which can easily be smashed, so you just stay malleable, and you'll find something out of that. You'll find some growth out of that. So I definitely wanted to come on and thank you guys for sharing our work. We hit our 1,000 goal for YouTube, so that's exciting. As soon as we take care of like some technical stuff, we can actually start going live on our YouTube channel, which is awesome. We're working on Resilient Cities right now. Sandra actually gave us the idea for Resilient Cities, and we took off with it. We started doing even more investigation, because it went from being sort of a Rockefeller thing, now it's this pervasive global thing, and they're marketing for more cities to come up like sister cities to come up and be resilient cities. And of course we know that the term resilient is an Orwellian term that actually has the reverse meaning of what you would think. Just like social equity means social equity for the managerial class, not for the underclasses. So things like that. We know that. So when we use the term resilient cities, it's an Orwellian term. So so we're working on that. So I wanted to thank you for that, and I of course wanted to thank those people that have donated to our PayPal page. You know who you are, and have become a patron. We're still looking for 20 patrons. We're at 12, so we just need 8 more, and we're just about there. So I think that that's pretty exciting too. You know, this is the way that we make a living now. I mean, there's not a lot of options out there for us. So we are putting all of our energy and time into our video essays and our work and archiving history and laying the foundation for that future society I was talking about, laying the foundation for that. We've now trickled the information out in a very organic way to some of our immediate neighbors, people who live next door to us, people who live across the street from us. We've had long conversations on our front porch and on our stoop about what's going on. So, you know, the real world engagement is just as important as the online engagement. Because of the online engagement, though, I've met people from the UK, more people from Michigan, people from Ohio, people from Australia, people from New Zealand, who have had long conversations with us in Messenger, and you know, which is pretty great. So I think eventually what's going to happen is we're all going to have to get together and do like a big Zoom call or something, and just have a rap session. I think that would be awesome. That way we could start putting more faces to names, and we could, you know, it can be more tangible in that sense. So that's the next step online as well. And the other thing that we've been doing is obviously taking care of our gardens. So I don't know if you saw when I went live on the Book of Hours Facebook page yesterday, I did a little 10-minute video of our garden and how much it's come up and how amazing it is. But I also applied an example, a hypothetical of communitarianism to it, because I really want people to understand that it's a very insidious philosophy that you don't want to trust, but the language in it makes you want to trust it. But it's no bueno. It's not good. It's a bad philosophy. I mean, you know, it's been talked about since, I want to say, the 1980s. You know, Bill Clinton has mentioned it during his administration. So it's definitely not about you know, the foundation of a successful society or giving opportunity to people who are on the margins. So, you know, we want to make sure that we understand the words first before we can create that society. And I would say that even, you know, this is kind of getting into the minutia about it, but as these societies start to develop, you know, that you have a litmus test, and you know, you have a few questions that you have to answer. In the same way that when you want to join a Facebook group, sometimes they make you ask questions like, you know, what is your feeling about this, and will you support this, and how do you feel about that? They want to make sure that there isn't someone in there that will weaken the goal. You know, whether it's, the goal is whether to, you know, stop these orders from the Pennsylvania Department of Education, or whether the goal is to just talk about, you know, what a successful society looks like, you know. So they have to have a litmus test. So I definitely wanted to be more positive with this podcast, and thank the people that have supported us and asked for your continued support. Please continue to share our videos. Please continue to do what you're doing, laying the foundation for a successful society in the future, and continue to fight if you can. But also be okay with people who have chosen to go the way that they're going. Be okay with that, because ultimately what human beings have is choice. They have choice, and if they've chosen to go a different way than you, then that's their choice. And you know, you can always be there for them if they ever realize that that was a bad choice. You can always help them move into the better choice. So that's what you're here for. That foundation is going to be such a strong anchor and such a fertile soil. You know, I can really see that. It's going to make a huge impact on people who are very confused. And I'm really excited that we get to be a part of it. I think that that's what's really cool, is we're meeting so many different people, and that we get to be a part of this. And you know, people in this group and in this new society, they're going to come from all backgrounds. You know, Jamie and I come from more of a leftist place, more science-minded, more logic. There may be people who come from a conservative background and they're more religious and you know, more patriotic, so to speak. We're going to have to put aside our party differences in order to create this successful civilization, because successful civilizations have different people from different backgrounds in them, and that's what makes them successful, is this wide diversity. So we would want people from a different background and a different thought process than us, and different belief systems. We would want those people a part of that. It's you know, it would disintegrate and dilapidate into nothing if it was just all of us thinking and believing the exact same thing. Because that's what the communitarians are doing right now, and that's what they want for all of us. So we're going to break off of that and have a new society where there's a rich, diverse group of people and backgrounds to make it successful. So that's the goal, and I see that's happening already. It's already happening. Walls are coming down. Party differences are no longer, you know, keeping people apart. They're coming together and saying, yeah, we need to figure something else out here, because this isn't working and this isn't good. This goes against everything that, you know, we as human beings stand for. JP and I look at it more from a perspective of, like, we're looking at some serious breakdown in humanity right now. And some people are looking at it from the perspective of, these are violations of our constitutional protections, whatever. You know, we can put aside our party differences and both come to the same conclusion. And Sandra says, I'm meaning things such as, you know, underground communities within communities and such. Not hacking literally. Okay, yeah. I think I got what you meant. Yeah. But like, you know, like what I was saying before, all of these differences that you know, that make up societies and make successful societies will be a part of the new society, you know. And there may be people that you just fundamentally don't agree with, but if they don't want to be a part of this communitarianistic, corporate human capital ledger system where they'll just be treated like, you know, their data and their personhood is excoriated for the wealthy machine, they don't want to be part of the Borg. You know, they know they don't want that. So they can come into our society with all of their strange backgrounds and their choices and their differences and whatever they identify with, and find a place there and bring their talents to that space. That's what makes a successful society, is diversity. It's really important that we not lose track of that. Okay, so I feel like I'm getting a little lecturous, but I'm going to stop now. And thank you once again for all of your support. Thank you for getting us to 1,000. Definitely keep paying attention. Definitely keep providing information. Keep emailing us. Keep messengering us. Keep doing it. This has been really fun and really great. And I know that it's going to get even more interesting as we move along. May we live in interesting times, right? So I will sign off for now. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate having you on board. All right. Love ya. Bye.